Welcome to another episode of Be Create Inspire. I'm Adiane, your hostess, and today I have the pleasure of bringing a very special guest, MC Yogi. Woo, 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 woo.
Nice to see you, Ari.
Yay, so beautiful. I'm so excited to have you at the Yoga Expo coming up in LA. It's a wonderful, I say like coming back to collaboration. I think I told you we did an Instagram live that, I don't know, 15 years ago when I was still really teaching yoga and acro yoga mainly. I performed, like a 3-minute thing on stage with you. And you were like, I kind of remember, but like, how many acro yoga performers have I had on stage before?
A lot.
Exactly. But welcome, and please, you have such a beautiful story that you've shared in your books, in your bio. But what got you to MC Yogi?
Just a lot of love and a lot of suffering.
Yeah. Was music always your outlet? Poetry, music, creativity?
When my parents were going through the divorce when I was really young, and I was going through a lot of having like a lot of traumatic experiences, and my headphones became my portal to relief. So I use music as a way to escape, and I use music as a way to kind of soothe myself and calm down. And as I got older, as I started getting into more trouble, I was considered a juvenile delinquent. I was kicked out. I think I shared this with you. I was kicked out of 3 schools, went, got arrested, ended up going to a group home for at-risk youth, and was just involved with a lot of, at the time, drugs and violence. And, I had friends who committed suicide, friends who were imprisoned, friends who were just going down the wrong path, and I was sort of tagging along. And as I got older, the practice of writing music became a therapeutic way for me to really organize my mind and have some kind of agency and control over my thoughts, so that they weren't, totally dragging me deeper into depression, anxiety, anger, fear, stress, tension, confusion. Yeah. But it wasn't until I really started practicing yoga when I was 17, where the writing process became like a really conscious meditation, writing songs that were helping me to learn about yoga philosophy, and just putting my mind in that direction, back inward, as opposed to like going out. And then it's been a long journey and a long process of really breaking through all the walls that I built up inside myself, so I could touch that place within where music comes from. And it gets purified and refined. Like the more I stay with the process, I feel like the more, it's not so much the finished product. Mm-hmm. The finished product is never what we imagine it's going to be.
Yeah.
It's more the process and the journey of actually being creative, because our creativity brings us in close contact with the creator.
Yeah.
And having that current stream through us, whether we're writing poetry or photography or podcasts or conversations, whatever art form it is, it's just using that creative process as a way to be in the moment, to be really alive in the flow state, and just opening the heart, opening the mind. And yoga really taught me how to really use my body and my senses to connect with spirit, and then to channel and direct that energy into my work.
So would you say that yoga was that the straw that fixed the camel's back, per se?
Yoga was the catalyst.
The catalyst.
Yeah, to show me that there was a tunnel out of suffering. And then I would backslide. And then I would fall into my thoughts again and get lost in my emotions. And, my dreams would take over. My imagination would be too powerful. I'd be lost in fantasy. I'd be lost in my intellect, lost in my stories. And then the yoga would help to, I got a little rhyme. It goes, use the breath like a shovel, dig an inner tunnel, carve a path through the rubble, moving back toward the subtle, away from the shadow on the surface causing trouble, into the place where I let the mind humble, stumble into the light where the left and the right come together in the center, enter and unite. So I used like the process of like structuring and shaping words and language to help heal, diminish, and dissolve anguish, like my own pain, my own suffering. Music is my therapy, and yeah, yoga showed me the light at the end of the tunnel, and that it's not distant, it's not far. Heaven is always here when the mind is clear. So, like, what's really dawned on me recently is like I've been having some really profound experiences in this exploration of myself. And one of the realizations that I had recently that's been really coming up a lot is that the light that shines through your eyes is the light of heaven. And being able to soften back into that space and observe the mind, body, and emotions without judging, without clinging, without chasing, without pushing, without forcing. And it's a constant spiritual battle, because everything that wants to pull me away and out of heaven, drag me into hell, is inside of me. It's not in anybody else.
Yeah.
You know, it's all my addictions, desires, all my wants, my needs, all the things that I think are going to complete me out there, which will not. Because, you know, I've through trial and error, I've seen how I contribute to my own suffering. And then the yoga is just like a grace-filled net. So I can capture all my thoughts and pull myself back in through the hallway of the heart, back into the hub, slide the thread of the woven senses back in through the keyhole of the heart, unlock the chamber, come back into the heavenly realm of awareness, which is our loving, kind, non-judgmental attention, and just make a big splash, diving headfirst back into the heart and become replenished, like quenching my thirst again, like coming back to the practice, back to the presence, back to the self, back to spirit, and back to God. And I think all yoga practice is ways to create inroads to lead you back to your peace.
Yeah. And I love how you keep bringing up that like tunnel, that journey, because, you know, as we want life to be linear, let's be real. It's you know,
it's not linear, it's spinnier. But I will say this, Ari, there is a straight line. The truth is a straight line.
The truth is a straight line. Yeah.
It's a direct path. And I think we tend to spiral around it because we don't want to be honest and deal with it. It's so beautifully painful and hard to actually face ourselves and face our condition, that we want to make it very complex and go in a long roundabout way, when actually it's just very direct. Yeah. It's very poignant. And I think yoga, being still, you know, like in the Bible, it says, you know, one of the greatest passages in the Bible is just be still.
Yeah.
And know that I am. And so the direct line is actually just pointing the mind that the target is always the heart.
Yeah.
And I have a saying that love is an invisible arrow that never misses its mark. So whenever we're in a state of love and grace, we are sending those rays toward everyone in our life, and everyone is benefiting from our own stillness practice, our own quiet awareness. When we suffer less, it takes the pressure off everyone else around us. And the thing is that we're really, really, really good at suffering. Yeah. It's like we're masters at suffering.
We are. And I for 2025, one of my goals was to stop listening to books and start reading books again.
Nice.
And so I've been doing that consistently. And today I was reminded in this one book that I'm reading called Inner Size that we're in like self-protection mode.
Yeah.
All the time. We're really like actively living from the limbic system. And
what is the limbic system? That's the brain.
It's part of the brain. So it's almost like that ancient part of the brain that just wants you to stay alive.
So it's fight or flight, right?
Fight, flight, freeze, but also like, hey, watch out. It's like your warning system. So
right.
When we're wanting to do anything, whether it's a goal or, you know, if you're going to release your app and you're like, okay, I'm going to release my app. The brain subconsciously is trying to hijack you consistently because like, oh, what if it doesn't succeed and I invested all this money and what if I lose it? Boom. So it stops you from action.
It's gonna succeed.
For sure. Absolutely.
It may take a little while, but I'm here for it. So what comes up when you say that is fight, or freeze, or shift toward the light of insight and be at ease. So like there is a fourth, which is seeing the tendency to fight, flee, and get stuck. Just being aware of that is enough to really melt and dissolve it and transform it. But until we actually develop the ability to detect and investigate ourselves and inquire and see how we work. And then the thing is like the tricky part is not to judge that part of us, because it's actually built into us so that we can survive and live.
Correct.
It's not personal. And it's not personal when other people do it too, but it's, relationships, like we take everything so personally, and then we get hit by that second arrow, third arrow, fourth arrow. But those arrows are poison arrows. They're not the invisible arrow of love.
Right.
So, but they still hurt. They hurt, because ultimately we're hurting ourselves. And so it's developing that layer of armor that is not a thick armor to protect ourselves, but is like a blanket or a coat or a covering of spirit, so that we can absorb those things and really stay in awareness. Even as people are hurting us, as we start to hurt ourselves less, their arrows affect us less. But the world's still going to hurt. It's still going to be painful. There's still going to be a lot of suffering. But my sense is that as I continue this journey in this path, and I'm very much a beginner, is that we'll start to enjoy those pains, because every time we experience the pain and suffering, it'll remind us to come back to love very quickly. Because there does come a point where we hit that threshold where we've done enough suffering. We know what that is. And we start to become interested in what's on the other side of it.
Yeah. And to me, it's almost like my daily life. I have a 5-year-old.
Right.
And it really is like, there's moments where, she, Mama, I love you. And then the next moment she's like, Rah! And then I'm like, I will love you unconditionally. You tried to bite me yesterday, and today you're like, Mama, let's read together. And being a parent, it's like everything you're saying. I don't know why. Like, I just keep coming back to the relationship with my daughter. The beauty of, I believe, like what you do in terms of because if we're talking about like being, creating, and inspiring, the lyrics, the practice, the way you weave, yoga with music, with poetry, it's something quite unique, right? I've been in the industry for a long time, and you've really tested, you've really tested time with what you do because of its uniqueness. And I'd love to talk about that, because one of the things that I love to tell people is like, be as weird and unique as you can, because that's what's going to make you stand out. Lots of people can be musicians. Lots of people can be yogis. How long have you been
weird
performing? Yeah. Well, takes one to know one, but like how you started practicing at 17, and I'm guessing you're, maybe 20 something by now, but you've been in this industry for so long. What do you think has been what's helped you reach international stages and be, command keynotes and performances? What do you think has been that driving force?
An insatiable desire to realize myself and to put myself in positions where I'm faced to deal with tension, and then not shrink, but actually get bigger because of it.
Yeah.
So a practice where it's like, I'm not avoiding it. I'm not running from it. I'm not hiding. I'm not afraid of it, even though I'm trembling. And then I go on that stage and I fail. I fall on my face. I make songs where I don't quite hit the mark of like where I'm trying to get to. It's just a lot of failure. Yeah. And not being afraid of failure, but actually seeing that failure is the greatest gift. And I think that's what I've learned, because I was such a perfectionist when I was younger, because I was overcompensating for a lot of deficiencies that I had based on traumas I experienced. So I was trying to cover up all that pain inside of me. So I was trying to create a character that was strong enough to protect that part of myself that was really weak, but I did it very unconsciously. So I developed an ego, spiritual ego. I developed, a fantasy, and there were gifts in that process. But then as I kept going, God won't allow me to carry that because it's not real. So experiences happen, relationships happen, so that is dismantled. And I'm falling apart now as we speak. Like everything is shedding. We're moving into Year of the Snake, and everything is transforming. And it's a beautiful process. And if I don't resist it, it's like a psychedelic journey. Like if you just allow spirit to usher you through, you will experience things beyond your wildest dreams, which you could ever imagine, things that are like beyond what you even thought was amazing. And so like God continues to wow me and amaze me because I keep surrendering and letting go. And the moments when I try to control and manipulate it and put on my sort of ego suit of armor, which is not a very good defense, because it can't withstand the fire of awareness. As soon as I go into the blazing silent fire of attention, all of that gets consumed, and I'm just, I'm who I've always been.
Yeah.
So everything that I have created, because we talk about being weird, and I think being weird is like fun because it sets you free. Mm-hmm. You're not afraid of what other people are thinking, and when you're not afraid of what other people are thinking, it's a testament that you are going beyond your own limited thoughts. You're not subject to your own judgments and criticisms. You can see that there's a power and a presence and a love that's bigger and more important than just what people perceive. Image. It's not about image. So I like to say, like when I meditate, my practice is I take all the pieces of paper, all the rice paper, and I put it in the ocean, and I just let it all dissolve. And then I still have to come back into the world and deal with, the parts of myself that still need to be healed. But yeah. I'm doing that practice internally to not get lost in the thoughts, the language, the words, the concepts, but really staying like soaking wet in spirit. So in other words, not living a dry, parched, cracked, superficial life. Yeah. I've done that, and it's very painful for me to like be on the surface. It's very uncomfortable for me. So I have to be in the water all the time, and I have to let that river flow through me all the time. And when I do that, everything works out. The moment I go to the dry wasteland of my mind, disconnected from spirit, it's just, it's like being exiled.
Yeah.
It's like being lost. And I've been lost for so long that I don't want to waste any time in the wasteland anymore.
The theme that keeps coming back that I think so many people in the business world, right? Because it's funny, like we are in this intersection that we play in the business world and we live in the spirit world.
Right.
And sometimes we need to be like, I'm in the business world and have conversations. And I love that we keep coming back to like the connection to spirit, like, because that ultimately, like all this can just disappear one day. Like you said,
the busyness is not going to save you.
The business is not going to save you. And it's the aspect of being, right? It's being tethered. It's being in that state of awareness of who we are, not what we do. And
that's to your point about like weirdness. Like it's important that that's not, and we all kind of, we fail, we experiment, we see what's real. But it, part of being weirdness and standing out is like, there's a part of that that's manufactured and contrived. So we feel special. And, like when we're kids, we want to like dress different than our parents, listen to different music than our parents, but we end up dressing like all our friends too. So we're still conforming. But I think that like another word that accompanies weirdness is wild.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a natural wildness inside of all of us that we have when we're young. Yeah. And I think that it's something that needs to be protected. It's something that needs to be respected and appreciated and even cultivated, where we give ourselves, like, that's why I love performing, because like when we're singing, when we're dancing, the Yoga Expo is going to be amazing, by the way. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be weird. It's going to be wild. We're going to lift the energy up as high as we can lift it, and then let spirit take it even higher. So it's good to be weird, to let your guard down, to be free, but not to dress up in some costume so that you feel special, like better or different than everybody else, because we're all weird. It's not a competition. So I think that there's something very weird about reality. It's so colorful and beautiful, and, spiraling rainbows of energy inside ourselves. Like there's light rays shining through our eyes. Our heart is pulsing. Our bones are growing. We're forming, diamond-like cells within us all the time. We're shedding layers. Like it's like a living, breathing, wise organism that is this universe, which is like pulsing. It's filled with consciousness and bliss and energy, and it's awake and it's alive. But when we get lost in our head, when we get contrived, when we're doing what we think we should be doing,
right?
When we're doing what we think everybody else wants us to do, when we're actually not listening to our heart, when we're going against ourselves, when we're divided, when we're conflicted, when we're running from ourselves and not really being honest, not drawing that straight line, then everything becomes a costume to kind of protect the fact that we're lying to ourselves. And I think yoga refuses to let us lie to ourselves. It's like that come to Jesus, like you have to get really clear, really sober, really honest, really clean, really direct, and look at it. And then in that process of looking at it, you're going to see an army of demons.
Mm-hmm.
And like the Buddha, until you can recognize that army of demons is just a bunch of masks that are empty, and the only one behind those sets of eyes is yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's a powerful path. It's really like going in and not stopping till you go all the way. And it's intense. It's weird. It's trippy. It's wild. It's interesting. It's beautiful. It's amazing. And we need good friends on the path. Like we need the Sangha and the community to support us, because we have to do it by ourselves, but we can't do it alone. I think that was Thich Nhat Hanh maybe said something to that effect. Like you have to do it by yourself, but no one can do it alone. So it's the inner work, but we also need support.
No, absolutely. And I remember, I started practicing when I was 21, and I grew up in Miami. I was partying my face off. That's the short end of it. And then yoga came into my life, and my friends changed, and everything, like it was like the domino effect. Friends changed, nutrition changed, sleep pattern, instead of staying up all night, I would sleep all night. And that's why, to me, I remember I was chatting with a friend, and she's like, we don't need more like business people in the world. We need like more wellness people in the world that are business people. and it's always that, there's nothing like, and perhaps, we can agree to this, but there's nothing like having that connection to source when you're, I don't know what my next strategy is. Like, okay, well, I have an app. Like, how do we go out to market? And it's like in that stillness.
Your next strategy sucks. Your next strategy sucks. Stop it.
I'll have to
Not
be like,
you personally, Ari, not you personally, but I'm just speaking to myself. Like just in general, like it's important. We need to be like business minded and navigate, pay bills, all those things is so important. But there's something behind and deeper than that that's
yes,
way more important.
way more
And
important.
I think if we're being led by our mind, we're leading ourselves toward disaster.
Yeah.
And I think if we're connecting to our heart and doing those stillness practices, yoga, meditation, mudra, mantra, the whole gamut of all the things that support us internally so we can come back to navigating and connecting with our own compass and being led by spirit, then it always leads to the promised land. It always leads us back to heaven, which is here right now. It heals, it redeems, it refreshes, it restores. But the strategy of our ego is not a good strategy.
No. And for you guys that are listening, like if you maybe are newer to yoga, I'll share just very, very quickly. I was in labor and I got a C-section, whatever. And the anesthesia had made my body start shaking, shaking. Like I was like this on the table. And I started doing my mantra, which is a very simple one, Om Shreem, like Om into the third eye, Shreem into the heart, seed sound.
Beautiful.
And I stopped shaking. So here, like, you don't need a complicated practice. You could simply do something that's so like powerfully simple that in 10 minutes, you're a new person. It's a shift.
By the way, I was thinking if I have a daughter, I was going to name her Anesthesia.
Please don't. I mean, do whatever you want.
No, just kidding.
I'm like, sure. It's like Elon Musk, like his kid's named like Aesop 3LWXYZ. I'm like, why? Kids have it hard enough already. And it's like, I can't imagine, I grew up in like 80s, 90s. And it was so like, I'm a Gen X kid, I was like riding my bike with my friends. My parents had no idea where I was. It was wonderful.
We're so lucky we grew up when we did, man.
Yeah. Now I'm like air tagging my kid,
I air tag myself just to find my wallet.
So I would love to see if, I always like to give people some advice. And I don't like to give it to them because that's what I do on a day-to-day. I want you to do it if that's okay. But something you said that I remember getting into, I was at a speaking engagement and I almost got into an argument with a dude. And I was like, I very similar to you. I don't see failures. I don't look at failures as like, oh, I failed. I look at them as opportunities, as gifts, as teachings. And he was like, well, sometimes it's really good to see them as just failures. And I was like, oh, we've failed so many times. I'm sure you've gotten no's, doors closed in your face. What would you say as a encouragement when one of the things that you're so excited about doesn't go the way that you dream it? Because we can plan all we want, but dreaming is, I think, where the power is. See if you can talk a little bit through that emotional roller coaster and some words of wisdom.
If something's not working, it's because something better is meant to. And you're selling yourself short and you're not valuing yourself. And you're doing something that is beneath or less than what you're born and why God made you. So God's going to put that obstacle in your life to show you that you're bigger, better, brighter, and you have a much deeper purpose on this earth than to settle for small things. That's why we can't be led by the ego, because the ego is always inadequate. And that's why that guy's little ego who you were talking to wasn't able to see beyond his sense of control. Right. And the thing is, you cannot control life. If you try to control life, we're all going to lose our body. We're all going to die. You cannot stop the river, but you can enjoy the journey and the process and really wake up and be alive and awake right now and be more loving, kind, and take the pressure off yourself. This is my only advice. Take the pressure off yourself. Nobody's putting pressure on you. Only you are.
You. Only you.
God is not putting pressure on you. Spirit made you as the reflection of perfect love. You were born from love. You were created. This whole universe was created so that you could be born. You are more loved than you realize. And when you stop worshiping your thoughts, which are little demons, little gremlins, put water on them and they're going to multiply. If you feed them after
midnight,
they're going to get musty. Don't feed them in the dark. You know, you got to bring the sunlight out to dissolve those little gremlins. And the sunlight is our attention, our awareness. The light that shines through your eyes is the light of heaven itself. Heaven is within us. All the saints, all the sages, all the great souls, all the Buddhas, Christ, all the great in the Yogis, the Siddhas, and the Adi Purushams, and the Mahatmas, and the gurus and the great beings, the enlightened, the awakened ones. Guess what? They're all inside you in the form of your attention, your awareness. The light shining through your eyes is the same light shining through Jesus's eyes, through the Buddha's eyes, through Anandamayi Ma's eyes, through my guru, Sri Neem Karoli Baba's eyes. It's the same presence, the same spirit, the same soul. It's all unified. It's all beautiful, divine. And when we get still, then we can come into close proximity with it. And then we focus on it until we merge with it. And it's a process. It's already there. On some level, we're already one, already complete.
Yeah.
But the ego needs to ripen. It needs to bloom. It needs to unfold, open, expand. And then the fruit will drop. And we can let go of the outcome and just trust it. There's a great saint named Ramana Maharshi, one of the greatest saints in India. And he says, your practice, your devotion, your focus, so I'm paraphrasing, but your effort, your energy, your inquiry, your self-realization is the greatest service you can render the world. So it's the least selfish thing you can do is to really deal with yourself. The impact and the ripple effect of that will be so far beyond and surpass anything you could possibly conceive or imagine. So when we come into loving presence, it affects the universe in a way that it's incalculable. It's unimaginable. But sometimes we may get lost in our thoughts and our imagination and not realize how absolutely powerful it is just to be still. And stillness doesn't mean not moving your body. Stillness means to be aware. Yeah. Because awareness itself is always still. It never changes. It's been with you your entire life. It's in the Bhagavad Gita, it says it's a flame that cannot be extinguished. It can't be dampened by rain, can't be hurt by weapons. And when you abide inside in that flame, that light, that presence, that awareness, that wakefulness, nothing can harm you. And they'll even there's these great stories of saints who terrible things have happened and they're fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a very powerful, unbreakable, diamond loving energy. And it takes a lot of courage and bravery to really do the internal work, to really surrender into it.
Yeah.
And to ask to be connected all the time. And then we flicker. It doesn't flicker. We flicker.
No, absolutely.
We fall asleep. We wake up. We get hungry. We get gassy. We get moody. We get hangry. All these things. We get emotional. We get lost in our little ideas. So we're kind of going through all the changes, but spirit never changes. Spirit is complete, excellent, perfect, all peaceful all the time. Heaven is done. There's nothing that needs to be done.
Right.
It's just you kind of let go and be still and relax into it. And then it gives you everything you need inside.
Yeah.
But it's easier done than said.
I love it. So it's such a great reminder. And, I even just talking to you, I'm like, your voice is so soothing. I'm like, yes, I'm going to go meditate now. It's okay. We only have a, huge show to plan, but go sit in stillness. But it's true.
It's going to be so fun. It's like it's going to be like inner fireworks. We're going to dance. We're going to practice. It's the first time at Yoga Expo, so I'm so thrilled. It's going to be such a joy to be together, and I'm just really, really grateful. Thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Oh my God, absolutely. And it's, we have an Instagram live that I'll drop in the links, but I'll say it was Sandra, my business partner. And she was like, let's reach out to MC Yogi. And I'm like, and I go into my shy little girl, because that's my fallback. I'm like, no. And I like crawl under my dad's desk. I used to work with my dad when I was like 12, 13, and he'd make me call people because his English is terrible. And he's like, you speak perfect English. You call
Where's your family from originally?
We're Peruvian.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So
my family immigrated from a small island off the coast of Portugal. So I'm first generation on my mom's side. And my family is talking to my Aunt Maria. And when they came to this country, they didn't speak English. They couldn't read, couldn't write, didn't have education, didn't have any money. So they worked on the farm milking cows. And I was talking to my Aunt Mary, and she told me the other day, she's like, I never went to school. And I said, well, how'd you learn English? She said, I learned from watching TV.
Watching TV. A lot of people. Yeah. So I was born in Peru. So I'm in theory not even first generation. My daughter's first generation.
Peru.
And yeah, so I go into like shy little girl, and I'm like, this is why Sandra and I work so well together, because she's like, no, we're going to reach out to him and we're going to bring him. I was like, okay, I kind of know him. Let's see if, I don't know. But I'm so glad that we did. And honestly, there
was an angel that
there was an angel. There was an angel. The beauty of having this community that we've been putting together. I mean, the Expo's been around for, over a decade. And
that's amazing, by the way. Congratulations. That's a huge.
Thank you. Yeah. Most shows don't, like even Yoga Journal back in the day, like, so we're really proud of ourselves. And I think it is because a lot of the things that you said, it's that it's aligned and it's rooted in the benefit of others. It's rooted in the greater vision to when somebody comes into my class, your class, when they experience a new practice, like they're going to walk away with a reconnection. It's like our little like tentacles of connection to the universe. Like it's going to be one more is connected because it got released from the connection to stress.
Right.
So because
what happens when you melt your stress and you soften your tension and relax your shoulders and come back into your body and start breathing, you become yourself again.
Yes.
And when you become yourself again, you realize how incredibly beautiful, amazing, wild, and weird you are.
Yes.
And it becomes a celebration because you're awake, like you're alive. There's so much to be grateful for. And I feel like it unlocks something inside of us so that we can experience more life.
Absolutely. So I mean, to summarize this, it's like, everybody do more yoga. Do more yoga. And you can do it with MC Yogi with his new app. I'm going to plug you in real quick because, that's what we do. We'll put it in the show notes. Is it's out or it's coming out?
It's like a beta right now.
Okay.
Eventually it'll be an alpha, but it's chock full of like music videos, lyric videos, guided meditations, yoga nidra. We're constantly adding new yoga classes.
Love yoga nidra.
We'll be adding like yoga classes, new videos every month. And it's really exciting, man. It's like something that I dreamed of for a long time, about having like one place, one platform where I could have all my music, all my lyrics, teachings, inspiration. And it's really a blessing. And I'm truly grateful for everyone who helped to make it happen.
Absolutely. launching an app is no easy feat. So congratulations. It's like having a baby, a digital baby. And the fact is that, you are bringing people into one place. And that's why I love the Expo, why I love the community that I have, for like wellness entrepreneurs. We get to come into one place and we all get to maximize our experience. We get to, vibe together, sing together, move together. Even if one person is in Asia, the other person's in, Peru, like they're sharing that opportunity. That's like the digital space is so cool to me.
It's powerful.
It's so powerful, I remember when we had our yoga studio, I told my business partner at the time, I was like, Michelle, we need to like go online. And she was like, no. And I was like, we should. And then we didn't. And I'm kick myself in the butt a little bit, but it's okay. Cause
it's okay.
We are where we are. Exactly.
Never too late to bloom. And
exactly. I'm like,
the same experience. Like I wish I would have done an app earlier, but it's actually perfect. Like everything happens in the right time.
Exactly. So look out for the app, come to the Expo, experience MC Yogi. You're going to perform and you're going to have a class. So double trouble, double weird, double wild.
My good friend, DJ Crisanto Santa Ana is going to be there DJing with me and he's amazing.
Oh my God. So cool. So I'm so honored and so happy to have you here, to share your insight, your wisdom, your advice, but also your presence. It's a very calming presence, very assuring. So please, for those of you who were listening and who want to connect with us, check out the show notes. Also, rate us 5 stars if you feel like it was a 5-star podcast. I would appreciate it. And look out for more guests. But thank you so much for today.
Yeah, I just love hanging out with you, and I can't wait to see you at the Expo. It's going to be amazing.
Yay. Namaste.
Namaste. Have a beautiful day.
You too.